Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of JakeSick.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Now, if you're watching us on our video platforms such as YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. If you're listening to this on any of our audio platforms, please give us a 5-star rating. Download this episode and more episodes, and don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Our latest guest today is a Spotify verified artist, and as of this recording, she has over 14,700 Instagram followers, and her album, The Scorpio Season, is out. Not to mention her new single, Runaway, which we're going to be talking about soon. So please help me welcome Hunter Ambrose to the podcast.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
Hunter, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. No problem. Happy to be here.
All right, so let's get started. So when to get interested in performing and how that passion, performance desire to pursue a career in the music industry?
So, from the time I could remember being a really, really young girl, I was very musically inclined, and I just gravitated towards playing the piano. And I grew up with a big baby grand piano in my parents' house, and they just noticed that I had a lot of natural leaning musicianship, and they decided to enroll me in piano lessons and formal vocal training. Starting when I was probably about 6 or 7 or something. And so from a really young age, I've been training, and that eventually turned into me, taking private vocal lessons all through like grade school and high school, and participating in musical theater and all of that. And I eventually enrolled in Berklee College of Music for college, and it all just kind of culminated in me meeting a lot of the people that I work with today while I was in school studying music, and here I am. And I've been really lucky to be able to pursue it full time since I would say 2017 or so.
That is amazing to pursue something you love for that period of time. That's incredible. And I also I along with some of my other podcasters, we do this, but we also have another job on the side. But to see that you do your stuff full time is incredible.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to be able to do it on the scale that I'm able to do it, and just dedicate as much time as I can to it, because it's a tough industry, and it takes a lot of determination, and it's a big time commitment to be an artist for sure. And I enjoy what I do every day. Even the hard parts. There are times that I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, XYZ, I don't really want to do this today. But at the end of the day, it is my passion, and to be able to pursue something that I'm truly passionate about is, I'm just very grateful to be in that position for sure.
And that's incredible. And it's not, a lot of people that do music, and also not to mention recording artists, are sometimes like they want to work. They work very, very hard. However, a lot of them didn't say that they have one of their mentors is a Grammy Award winning producer, Narada Michael Walden. So what were some of the lessons that you learned from him that helped you grow as a recording artist?
Oh, it's immeasurable, because working with Narada, that was the first time that I was in like a proper studio setting recording original music. I was like that. I think I was 17 at that point. And I went from, doing musical theater and studying voice in high school to, flying out to Northern California and working with him, and, being in the studio writing original music for the first time, and to be behind the mic doing my own music. What I had recorded at that point was intended to be my first original music, and we ended up going in a little bit of a different direction. But that was just the first time I found myself in a studio setting, period. And not only that, but it happened to be a studio that Whitney Houston had recorded her music in, and Mariah Carey had recorded some of her early music in the 90s. And it was just such an honor. I dreamed about being in a setting like that. And he taught me a lot about, gaining confidence behind the mic, and just songwriting. Gave me a lot of pointers about that. And in a pop music context, songwriting is there's a very distinct formula when it comes to pop music. And I was just honored to be amongst a legend,
Absolutely, and he's done incredible work over the years. And
Yeah.
I'd like to go back to the point about bringing him across the mic, because a lot of people think, well, no matter if it's podcasting or if it's singing, being in front of a microphone, it's easy, but sometimes it can be really intimidating.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, you have the ability to, do however many takes you want to get it the way that you want it to be. So, it's a little bit more forgiving than live performance, but I mean, it's just unless you've been doing it for a while, and at that point, I obviously hadn't. Yeah, it can be very intimidating. I mean, you think about all the people that have been in front of whoever you're working with, and you're like, oh my God, what do they think? Do they think I'm up to par with the people they worked with before? Am I like, am I letting my nerves get the best of me? There's a lot of stuff that crosses your mind. And but if you're working with the right people, they make you feel at home and they encourage you to give your best performance possible. And I've been really lucky to work with people that have brought out the best in me, my whole career, really.
And that's incredible, and that's incredible. So let's talk about some of the challenge. Like, have you faced any challenges breaking into the music industry and staying active in the industry? And how have you overcome those obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, how much time do you have? There's a lot of challenges that come in entertainment, period. I mean, I'm not immune to insecurity, and I'm not immune to burnout. And sometimes you do come across people that don't necessarily have your best interests at heart, and who have less integrity than others. It's tough. I think it's tough mostly in a self-esteem aspect. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it, and there's so much that goes into it that has nothing to do with music at all. So you can kind of get sucked into the more business related aspects of the industry that get really tiring and make it a little less fun. So I think that sometimes I have been prone to burnout, just in terms of, if I am in the middle of a release, or at the time my album came out, actually, I mean, I had been releasing the bulk of my music during COVID. So that was a huge challenge. I mean, every industry pretty much in the world was thrown into like complete disarray. And so that was probably, if I'm being honest, the biggest challenge I've had to come across, just releasing, a debut project in the middle of a worldwide crisis and not being able to promote it and perform the way that I wanted to. And so anyway, so all of that really resulted in a lot of burnout at the end of that album cycle, but getting myself psyched back into it, that's been something I'm really proud of myself for, just kind of coming back from all those challenges and just keeping going with it, really. Yeah.
It's pretty, and believe me, it's very tough, because I think I was in New York from the time from March shutdown, March 2000 to Phase 4, but with New York and Los Angeles, those cities, life changed pretty drastically at that point.
Oh yeah, I was in New York at that point too.
Oh wow, I lived in Manhattan, East 39th, Second Avenue, and like when I was walking, it felt like at times I am legend.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God, it's not a time I like to reflect on a lot at all. It was crazy. It was nuts.
Yeah, and as we're recording this, they're just coming off the haziest. New York City has come up because of Canadian wildfires. I cannot imagine being there.
Yeah, I mean, that city's been through so much. It's insane. It's really insane. LA deals with that a lot, but I mean, like, I think they're a little bit more used to it. But seeing those pictures of New York, like the last few days, it's been insane. It's been crazy.
I totally agree. I was shocked, and I even checked in on my closest friends and said, "Are you guys okay?"
Yeah. No, it's sad. It's sad to see.
Absolutely. But let's move on to something that's happier. Let's your music.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to learn some story. I've taken the pleasure and listened to some of your songs, and I'm going to be talking about four of them, and I would love to learn the story behind them.
Sure. Yeah.
So let's talk about the song I alluded to earlier, One Away. It's your latest single. I loved it. I reviewed it on jakes.shake.com. And seriously, I was re-listening to it. And like I said, and I stand behind it, it sounded like if Leona is something that Leona Lewis would have recorded.
That's so nice. I've never been compared to her like in my career at all. Like nobody's ever really drawn that comparison, but my God, what a compliment. So nice. What a beautiful voice, powerhouse of a vocalist. I really appreciated that. I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
It was amazing. And like, seriously, it felt like a Ryan Tedder and Leona combination, like the sequel to, and Jesse McCartney's sequel to like Bleeding Love or something like that.
Oh, thank
Something like that.
you.
So how did that song come about?
Well, it actually stemmed from a song that I had been working on while I was in the release cycle of Scorpio season, I believe. I had like a session over Zoom or something because it was COVID. This was probably like, I want to say this was like the beginning of 2021. And I just had done a session with a couple of writers that I had known from school who actually weren't involved with the final product that you hear today at all. It was just a session that I had done. I had some lyrics that I had left over from that and some melodic ideas left over from that session that I knew had a lot of potential. And so I kept those aside. And I would say like probably a little over a year goes by and I got back in the studio with my frequent collaborator, frequent producer, co-writer, his name's Jason Strong. And we got in the studio together and I was like, okay, I put out Scorpio season at that point. I'm ready to get back in the studio. I want to do something else. I want to do a different sound. I want to move on from that. I want to move on from the more darker kind of R&B pop leaning stuff. And I want to, do something fresh with my sound. And so we decided that we wanted to go into a more synth pop electronic territory with it. Something that sounded a little bit brighter, had a little more movement to it, if you will. And we did the production first. And I also at that point was really into kind of the 80s leaning stuff that The Weeknd was doing. The Weeknd's a huge artistic inspiration for me. So we wanted to kind of go in that direction with it production wise. And then it wasn't until late 2022 that I recorded the vocals. And I was just really focused on giving a super dynamic vocal performance and matching, the liveliness and the energy of the production with my vocals. And I had spent the last year and a half or so working with Max Lawrence, who's my vocal coach, and his father coaches Lady Gaga and a lot of other really amazing artists. And the technique that I've been studying with him, I really tried to implement, all of the growth that I've had vocally on the song. And I thought that was very much to my benefit because I really wanted this track to be a really, I wanted to put it out and have it come out with a bang because it was the first song I put out in like a year and a half. So I really wanted to showcase to everybody I'm back. I've got this new sound. I've got this new energy. And I think we accomplished that. Yeah.
You definitely accomplished that as well. I gotta say, that's a really good song. Like when you're talking about 80s, I'm like thinking of right now, Carly Rae Jepsen's having a moment with that sound. Kylie Minogue is getting back to that sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's the 80s synth pop wave is having a moment.
Oh yeah. And it has been for, a few years now because like Blinding Lights and After Hours, which was a huge record for me. That album got me through 2020 and it inspired me tremendously. After Hours by The Weeknd, people didn't know what I was talking about.
Absolutely.
And that came out in 2020. So, I mean, we're, a few years into this resurgence of this really fun, retro-leaning sound that's going on in pop music. And I couldn't be more thrilled about it because I love that music.
Same here. I was actually listening to Michael Jackson's History World Tour and Bad World Tours. Those were some incredible songs.
Yeah. Are you a Michael Jackson fan? I'm a huge, huge Michael Jackson fan.
Same here. Michael's one of my all-time favorite male vocalists, and I would have loved. I saw MJ the Musical. If you haven't had a chance to see it, run, don't walk.
Next time I'm in New York, I've heard it's really good, actually.
I actually got to see Miles Fries, who won the Tony for it. He was fabulous.
That's awesome.
All right, so let's move on to song number 2. It's from Scorpio Season, and it's Alone Together. And as of this recording, 43,000 Spotify streams.
So, okay, what do you want to know? What do you want to know about Alone Together?
I would love to learn how that song was started.
Well, I mean, that's kind of an appropriate segue because that song was really what inspired me to go for this really 80s leanings. That's another example of that sound, really. I mean, Alone Together leaned heavy on that. And I think just me really listening to After Hours, the Weeknd's record over and over and over again throughout 2020, I think that really had an impact on me. And a lot of Scorpio Season doesn't sound like that. But, for some reason, I just really wanted to switch it up and do a track that echoed what I was listening to at the time. Thematically, it's about the pandemic and some personal stuff I was dealing with at the same time. So it's one of those songs that is multi-layered in terms of the meaning behind it. Those are kind of, my favorite types of songs to write because you can kind of assign different I mean, people do this anyway with pop music, but you can interpret it in multiple ways, But it was written about, being put in the position of being locked in my house, heartbroken, not being able to see anybody, not being able to escape my own thoughts, And the music video reflected that because we shot it in a all black psych wall studio, so the entire studio looked like this black void. And I was just in this shimmering light and this all rhinestone outfit. So I was the only beam of light in this black abyss of my, of my mind, really. It was what that was supposed to represent. But yeah, that was the first time I had, decided to go in that direction sonically. And I think by me doing that song, I realized that style really suited my voice. Because I have a bigger, more dramatic sounding voice, and I think those types of sonics really suit that. And it was so fun. It was so fun to record too. The vocoder bit in the post-chorus, I came up with that on the spot when we were doing the production. I was like, I really want to do this post-chorus breakdown where it's all this layered vocoded version of my voice because I'm singing that part. And yeah, it was just a blast. I love that song.
I gotta say these songs are really good, but I was just briefly looking at November, and that's your most streamed song, which is 80,000 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That must be streaming, seeing those numbers go up and up and up.
Yeah, I mean, that song's been out for a minute now. That was my debut.
And really, that's a strong debut single.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it got a lot of groundswell around it because it interpolates Lady Gaga song in the chorus. So and this is way before it even came out. I mean, this is before I even recorded the vocals, but we registered the song to my ASCAP, and we I had to reach out to her people and make sure the splits were all, all taken care of because it was a sample, she had to have songwriting credit. And when I registered it, it became public record, and her fan base like got a hold of it. And at that point, Gaga was supposed to put out another album, which is now what Chromatica is, because the song came out in 2019. And yeah, her fans just got a hold of it. And, you know, there was like this huge rumor online in her fan base that I was going to be like collaborating with her because they saw the songwriting credit next to my name. And so that was, you know, a big part of why I got my name out there. It was just the groundswell and the rumor hype train around that song. So that is my most successful song, based on hype. But also, I mean, I like to give myself a little more credit than that because it's an incredible song. I'm so proud of it. I mean, I don't really have a favorite of my discography because they're all like my children. But that's up there. That's still one of my favorites. I mean, Jason, who co-wrote it with me and produced that song, I remember when we were in the studio together, putting the finishing touches on the mix. And so we listened to it all the way through together in his studio. And so I got, you know, obviously have these incredible speakers and got to hear it, you know, almost done. And I remember just hearing it back and just sitting there like, I had no words. It is a special song.
And I gotta say, having a writing credit next to Lady Gaga's name is incredible. And I gotta say, I think the Little Monsters did a huge favor. And hopefully, one of these days, you and Gaga will have a chance to write a song together or even record together. She can do it with Blackpink. She did it with Christina and Ariana. I think you'll be able to do that and hold your own.
Let this be the manifestation of that. Maybe someday I'll look back on this interview and cry because it came true. I don't know who I would be without her. I really don't.
Gaga's an amazing musician. See the artistry. It took me a while to which she wouldn't, but she won me over. In 2013, I actually got to see the Born This Way ball with two of my friends in Kansas City, and it was a phenomenal show. And then, but like to see her evolutionary from Grammy Award winning to Oscar winning songwriter is just unbelievable.
She really is. She to this day is like such an idol of mine because I've loved her ever since she debuted. Because I think Just Dance, which was her first single, came out when I was like 12 or something. So I've really grown up with her, and she's just an example of the kind of artist that I want to be, because the people that I'm the most inspired by, you know, aren't boxed into one idea or one, you know, set of rules or one version of their artistry that the media wants to, you know, put them in. You know, she has no limits, you know, artistically. She's not constrained to any one version of herself, you know, and she's is an actress and you know, businesswoman and a force to be reckoned with in every way. And that's really, you know, the kind of artist that I want to be. And she's so talented.
Absolutely.
In every way. You know, it's crazy. So.
Absolutely, Hunter. Absolutely. I got to talk to you about, besides Lady Gaga, who are the singers, songwriters, musicians, and producers that you like to have a recording session with, and how would they enhance your sound?
So many. I would love to record with The Weeknd, 100%. I'm sure we could come up with something that would be incredible, especially in that like 80s leaning style that I've been referring to in this interview. Sure, that would be great. I also really love Ariana Grande, and hearing her collaborate with Lady Gaga was kind of crazy for me, because I think that in terms of female vocalists, I think that they are probably the biggest inspirations to me currently. So hearing them both together on one track was just crazy for me. And let's see, who else? I'm sure there's more. There's gotta be more. I mean, I think Gaga and The Weeknd, I think, would probably complement my voice the best in terms of like a vocal collaboration.
And I
Go
gotta
ahead.
say, The Weeknd would be a wonderful because I still love one of his collaboration with Lana Del Rey, "Prisoner." It's one of my
Mm,
favorites.
yeah, no, that's a good song. I think that's from like Beauty Behind the Madness, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an
that
older song.
record, that record, The Weeknd. Seriously, those records, I gotta say, After Hours, and then Beauty Behind the Madness, and also Dawn AM. Those were my three favorite records of his.
Mm-hmm. Dawn FM's really good too. Yeah. In terms of producers, I mean, Max Martin's the legend in pop music. He is the guy. Um, that would be incredible. Metro Boomin, who I saw at Coachella, because I do kind of like to dabble in R&B and like kind of hip hop leaning production every once in a while. Who else? Metro Boomin, Max Martin,
I gotta say, you
and
picked up a really good choices, especially with Max Martin. Like he's recorded with everybody: Britney, Celine, Bon Jovi, Gaga, Taylor, JT, almost every major name in the past 25 years he's recorded with.
he's the guy. I mean, what a career. And Jack Antonoff, actually, producer wise, because I think that he's really responsible for like the direction that pop music is going in right now, especially with what he's done with Taylor Swift and the sound that she's gone for over the last few years. I was really impressed with Midnights. I had to think about that for a second, which is kind of funny considering the chokehold that Taylor Swift has on the industry. Yeah, I mean, Jack Antonoff would be great.
I gotta say, I've been really loving her Taylor versions of her past albums. And I'm so glad she's re-recording them. I'm so glad she wrote "Better Man," one of my favorite songs of all time, a little Big Town Energy song. But however, hearing her version gives me chills.
I haven't I haven't really gotten a chance to go deep into her discography yet because I don't know, it took me a while to kind of get totally on board with her music, especially because I in the early days, like I've never been a country music fan, but I mean, I'm very impressed by her. How could you
Same,
not be?
yeah, same here. She is incredible, and like not to mention have like if she's even causing the Swifties to not remember her own show, their own experience because it's like so heightened emotionally.
No, I'm trying to go to her show when she comes to LA.
It's a really I'm so jealous of my sister-in-law because she got tickets to the Kansas City show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, but however, this conversation is not about Taylor Hunter, it's about you. So let's get back to it. Get this train back on track. So let's talk about social media. So what are some of your favorite social media platforms?
My favorite is Instagram. I'm getting a little bit more into, TikTok as a platform. I'm having a little bit more fun with it now than I was in the beginning. I like to interact with my fans most on Instagram personally because I think you get the most variety, and I have the most following on Instagram, so that's the most engaging for me. But yeah, I mean, I love interacting with my fans and my listeners online.
That's incredible because the thing is with Instagram, I love Facebook, I love Twitter, I love, but I cannot get into TikTok because I'm worried it's going to take me on a spiral path and lead me under multiple rabbit holes.
Yeah, it definitely has a tendency to do that for sure.
All right, last question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Where can my audience find your music? And number two, where can I connect with you on social media?
So you can stream my music on all major platforms. So that's Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube, Deezer, all that stuff. You can find Scorpio Season, my album, on there, and Runaway, which is my latest single, on there. And on social media, I'm on Instagram. You can follow me at Hunter Blair Ambrose, all one word. So just my name. And then on Twitter, I'm Hunter Blair NYC. On TikTok, HunterBlair.nyc. And on YouTube and Facebook, just Hunter Blair Ambrose. Everything should pop up for you.
Awesome, guys. If you missed the episode of the Jake Steak with Jacob Elyachar Podcast, visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And if you want to read my review of Hunter's work, head over to jakes-take.com. Once again, jakes-take.com. Hunter, thank you so much for taking time in your schedule to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.